Hey guys, welcome back. I've had a long weekend. Sorry I missed my last Friday's episode. That's 2 Fridays in a row that I missed. Kind of awful. But today we've got a really interesting one. I had a big show this weekend and it was a boat show. So I thought I'd make some paintings for a boat show, something nautical themed. And I found some nice reference that I had taken at the Naples Botanical Gardens. And so today I am going to be painting this Anhinga. And I will be telling you about some of the more interesting information that I could find about them. So let's get right into the video. Before we get too far into this video, do me a favor. If you enjoy this content, don't have to do it now. I know I haven't done anything for you, but if you do enjoy this content, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell. It really makes a huge difference for a channel as small as mine. It helps to push me out to other people so they can see my content. And basically, you're telling YouTube that this stuff is worth sharing. So if you do enjoy this, please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring the bell, all the YouTube things, you know how it works. But yeah, let's get into the video now. Okay, so today is going to be another reading my notes off to your video. I don't think I'm going to explain much of the painting process. If you would like to learn more about my painting process, feel free to click up here, I think, or maybe over there. I don't remember which one's which. Somewhere along the top of the page. And you can watch some of my other videos. I've linked a playlist here where you can see a lot of my different painting videos where I explain my process. But today, we're just going to learn about Anhingas while I paint this one. So let's jump right into the learning. All right, so the Anhinga. Scientific name, Anhinga. I know, very creative. These guys are also known as snake birds, darters, water turkeys, things like that. So you may have heard them called snake birds before. There's also a bird called a cormorant, which is not an Anhinga. And I think I talk a little bit about the difference here later. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But they are notably different birds. Cormorants, from my experience, are usually much larger, and they are a little different in coloration and in beak shape and in, I think, the shape of their tail maybe. I do talk about it later, so I will leave it for that. Location-wise, you'll typically find an Anhinga in warm, shallow water or swamplands. Think of half of Florida. I see them all the time over here. There are 2 main subspecies of Anhinga. There is Anhinga, which is awful. That's their scientific name, which can be found from the Andes to kind of other regions in South America. And then there is Anhinga lugogaster, which is an interesting name. And they're kind of more southern US, Mexico, Cuba. And on both sides of their range, the northernmost and southernmost birds will migrate closer to the equator when it gets a little chillier out. They don't usually go super far north or super far south, but they have been spotted there. My bird clock is going off. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, now that my bird clock has stopped talking to me. Like I said, they will migrate if they are in regions where it gets a little colder, but they're not usually that far north or that far south. Moving on to the description of these birds, this is considered a large bird with 89 centimeters or 35 inches in length and 1.4 meters or 3.7 feet for their wingspan. So pretty big bird. I mean, they're not gigantic, but they're definitely a big bird. They're much bigger than a cardinal or a blue jay or something like that. When you think of the grand scheme of all birds, they're definitely on the larger side. They typically weigh 2 to 3 pounds, which is 1 to 1.5 kilograms or 1.3 kilograms roughly. And there is some sexual dimorphism. If you've watched some of my other videos before, you'll have heard this term. This is one of my favorite terms. I love using it. Basically, sexual dimorphism is when the males and females of any species are visibly different from one another. For example, humans, right? Females typically have longer hair, wider hips. The fatty deposits on their bodies are typically held in different areas. Thinking, breasts and posterior typically are a little larger for women than they are for men. You could also think lions, like the males, are typically the ones with the mane, whereas the female lions don't have a mane. And so just basically any kind of sexual dimorphism is where you can tell the difference between a male and a female. For example, tigers don't have a lot. The males are a little bigger usually, but otherwise they all look pretty similar. So some animals have it, some animals don't. And Anhingas are one of the animals that does. So those noticeable differences are the males are usually a bit darker than the females. A female Anhinga will usually have kind of a light tan or buff chest and head area, whereas a male will be dark throughout. And it says here that usually the females are a little more on the brown side, where males are a little duller. So you can see, I don't know if I've started painting this yet, but my guy's pretty dark all over, so he must be a male Anhinga. So here we go with the part about cormorants. So Anhingas and cormorants are a little bit similar. I'll put up a picture of each of them. My reference photo of my Anhinga, and I have a reference photo of a cormorant as well. You can see they're very much the same shape of bird, but they are different. So Anhingas usually have a bigger tail than a cormorant does. The cormorant's beaks are hooked. As you can see, the front of this cormorant's beak has a little hook down. And cormorants, when flying, usually can't glide. Anhingas are more capable gliders. Usually a cormorant has to flap its wings at all times when it's flying. Moving on to some of their behavior. So as I mentioned earlier, you'll usually find them in warm, shallow waters and wetlands. So it could be easy to assume that they do hunt in water, and if you did assume that, you would be correct. So a lot of their diet consists of fish, small lizards, bugs, things like that. And what they do, which is similar to a lot of wading birds and water-based birds, is they will posture their neck up nice and curved, and when they get close to a fish or whatever that they're planning to eat, they will lunge their neck out and use their beak almost as a spear to stab into the fish or whatever they happen to be stabbing into. This can vary a little bit, obviously, depending on the size of the fish. They'll use different parts of their beak. Sometimes they'll just use the bottom of their beak. Sometimes they'll slightly open it and stab it with two prongs of their beak. But this neck spear is a pretty effective method that not only Anhingas use, but you can see a lot of herons and things doing the same thing. They will scrunch up their neck and then launch out really quickly. Even snakes do stuff like this when they strike, right? So this is obviously a very effective tactic. It gets a lot of momentum. It's very quick and very accurate. Something interesting about Anhingas is if you've seen one before, you've probably seen it sunning itself out on a log or on a tree. My guy is kind of sunning himself a little bit here in the painting. And what that is, for example, ducks, swans, things like that, aquatic birds typically, they produce an oil from certain glands in their body that they apply to their feathers that makes them water resistant, which makes the water just kind of bead off of the feathers. Well, Anhingas, they don't do this. Their feathers do become saturated when they expose themselves to water. And so whenever an Anhinga is hunting and swimming around and diving in the water, it's actually getting its feathers soaked. And when that happens, they can't fly when their feathers are very, very wet. So you will often see them sitting out with their wings extended into the sun so that they can dry their feathers off. When they're doing this, they have been seen or noticed to kind of look a little bit like a turkey, which is where they get the name water turkey from. When they're fanning out their feathers, people are like, oh, look at the turkey up there. So that's kind of where they get the name water turkey from as well. Final thing here, we'll talk a little bit about conservation. These guys are not endangered at all. They are in the least concern category, which means that there's not really any reason to worry about conservation or things like that. They have a very healthy natural population. They are, however, protected. If you watched our cardinal video, under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, which is essentially an act that was signed into law that migratory birds cannot be hunted or stolen or taken in any kind of sense of the term. So birds like the Anhingas and cardinals, like we had for another video, there's a lot of birds that fall into this category here. Maybe I'll put some information. I'll kind of scroll a little bit of the page right now, and I'll put the link to the Wikipedia article on it in the description. But you can see that there's a lot of birds that are involved in this, and this is another one of those birds. So basically, they're not endangered, and they're not going to get endangered because it's illegal to hunt them, which is good. I think that's a good thing. Not everything needs to be a game bird. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. That's all the information I have written down here. So I will finish up whatever I have left of my painting, and then we will get to the outro and some final thoughts and some glamour shots. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Let's get this painting up here so we can check out the final piece. As you know, I love my glare, so I went with a nice brown frame for this. You can see that we've got some nice strong details in here. I went with a very relaxed background. It was like that in the photo, but also I think that it is a little more interesting to have all of the detail in the front. I'm very happy with the way that this painting came out. If you are happy with the way this painting came out, do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell, share with your friends, leave a comment, all of the standard YouTube things. It really makes a huge difference for my channel. I appreciate all of the support that I have been getting. If you guys enjoy stuff like this, do me a favor, let me know. I know my cardinal video did pretty good. So if this is kind of the content you want to see, let me know. Tell me something. Say, hey, this is cool. Leave interesting birds or other animals. Doesn't have to be a bird that you could be interested in watching me paint potentially, or learning about a little bit. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.